Under a blanket of stars, the Great Pyramid of Giza rises from the sands, silent, immense, and timeless. Tonight we begin our journey at the very heart of ancient wonder. Welcome, history buffs and curious minds. Imagine standing here where a young traveler gazes up in awe, just as people have for over 4,500 years. The Great Pyramid is more than a monument. It's a riddle that has fascinated humanity for millennia. Look closer. Each massive stone block tells a story of ambition and skill. From the smallest detail to the towering height, every angle reveals a new mystery. Step inside and you can almost feel the questions echoing through the ages. How did ancient builders, without modern machines, create something so precise and monumental? Was it lost technology or something even more extraordinary? Today we'll peel back the layers of myth and speculation. Together, we'll explore the real tools, techniques, and teamwork that made this marvel possible, and discover the ingenuity that still inspires us. Let's unlock the secrets of the Great Pyramid. Let's start with the sheer scale of the challenge. The Great Pyramid, built for Pharaoh Khufu, stands nearly 147 meters, 481 feet, tall. It held the record as the tallest man-made structure for over 3,800 years. It's composed of an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, though some, like the granite blocks in the king's chamber, can weigh up to 80 tons. Imagine moving just one of those blocks, let alone millions, without wheels, without cranes, and without steel. It's mind-boggling, right? But the Egyptians weren't just moving rocks. They were creating a structure with incredible precision. The base is almost perfectly square, and the sides are aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal points of a compass. This wasn't a crude pile of stones. It was an architectural masterpiece. So where did these millions of blocks come from, and how did they get them out of the ground? The vast majority of the pyramid's limestone blocks came from local quarries, some just hundreds of meters from the construction site. The finer white limestone for the casing stones, which would have made the pyramid gleam like a beacon, came from Tura, across the Nile. And the enormous granite blocks for the internal chambers were quarried all the way down in Aswan, over 800 kilometers away. Now, for the tools. Forget iron or steel. The Egyptians were working in the Bronze Age. Their primary tools for quarrying were incredibly simple, yet effective. For the softer limestone, they used copper chisels and dolorite hammerstones. Dolorite is an incredibly hard, igneous rock. Workers would repeatedly bash the rock face with these hammerstones to create grooves and fissures. Once a block was outlined, wooden wedges would be inserted into cracks and then soaked with water. As the wood absorbed the water, it would expand with immense force, splitting the rock along natural fault lines. For the much harder granite from Aswan, copper tools were largely useless. Here, the process was even more arduous. They primarily used those same dolorite hammerstones to pound and abrade the granite until it separated. Imagine chipping away at rock that hard, hour after hour, day after day. It's a testament to their patience and manpower. Once quarried, how did these massive blocks travel? This is where ingenuity truly shines. For the local limestone, workers likely used wooden sledges. These sledges would be pulled by teams of men over prepared paths. Recent archaeological discoveries, like a papyrus from Wadi al-Jarf, have shed light on a sophisticated system. It details how limestone was transported from Tura across the Nile in boats during the annual flood season, right to a specially built harbor at the base of the Giza Plateau. And here's where a crucial detail comes in: sand. Dragging heavy sledges over dry sand is incredibly difficult due to friction. However, experiments have shown that by slightly wetting the sand in front of the sledge, friction is dramatically reduced, making it much easier to pull. This simple yet brilliant technique is depicted in ancient tomb paintings, showing a person pouring water in front of a colossal statue being moved on a sledge. For the granite from Aswan, the journey was even more epic. These colossal stones were loaded onto barges and floated hundreds of kilometers down the Nile, a logistical feat in itself, especially considering the enormous weight. Now for the million-dollar question. How did they get millions of blocks, some weighing dozens of tons, all the way up to the top of a 147-meter-tall pyramid? This is where the theories get really interesting, and while we don't have a definitive instruction manual, archaeological evidence points to a system of ramps. Several ramp theories have been proposed. The straight ramp, a massive single ramp extending straight out from one side of the pyramid. The problem with this is that it would have to be incredibly long and wide to maintain a workable gradient, requiring more material than the pyramid itself. The spiral ramp, ramps that spiraled around the outside of the pyramid as it grew. This is more plausible, but it would obscure the corners, making it difficult for the builders to maintain the precise angles. The internal ramp theory. This is one of the most compelling and recent theories, gaining traction after the discovery of a unique ramp system at an alabaster quarry from the reign of Khufu's father, Sneferu. This theory suggests that an internal, spiraling ramp was built inside the pyramid's core, with workers pulling blocks up short, external ramps at each corner, turning and then continuing up the internal passage. This internal ramp theory makes a lot of sense for several reasons. It protects the ramp from erosion, allows for the precise corner alignments to be maintained, and would have been less resource-intensive than external ramps. The discovery of a void within the Great Pyramid by the Scan Pyramids project has even fueled speculation that it could be part of such an internal system. Whichever ramp system or combination of systems was used, the blocks were still pulled up using ropes and human power on those wooden sledges. Teams of men, organized and coordinated, would have been essential. For the very top blocks, it's possible a final, smaller ramp, or even a system of levers was used to precisely position the capstone, which, sadly, is no longer there. But who were these builders? Were they slaves, as Hollywood often depicts? Archaeological evidence overwhelmingly points to no. The pyramid builders were not slaves, but skilled laborers, craftsmen, and farmers who worked during the annual Nile flood when their fields were submerged. They were organized into highly efficient teams, housed in purpose-built villages, fed well with meat, bread, and beer, and even provided with medical care. Their cemeteries show they were respected members of society. This was a national project, a monumental act of devotion and collective will. Estimates suggest that anywhere from 20,000 to 100,000 workers were involved, though not all at once in shifts. The level of organization required to manage such a workforce, provide their sustenance, and coordinate the quarrying, transport, and placement of millions of blocks is simply staggering. It speaks volumes about the administrative capabilities of the ancient Egyptian state. Once the core structure was complete, the pyramid was covered in those brilliant white Tura limestone casing stones. These stones were cut with incredible precision, fitted together so perfectly that you couldn't even slip a piece of paper between them. These casing stones were laid from the top down and then polished to a dazzling finish, making the entire pyramid shimmer under the desert sun. It would have been an absolutely breathtaking sight, a truly shining mountain of white, capped perhaps with gold. Sadly, most of these casing stones were stripped away over centuries to be used in other constructions, leaving the rough, stepped appearance we see today. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands not just as a tomb for a pharaoh, but as a monumental testament to human ingenuity, perseverance, and the incredible organizational power of an ancient civilization. The secrets of its construction weren't magic or alien technology, but rather simple tools, brilliant engineering principles, an immense, well-fed workforce, and a clear, unified vision. It reminds us that even with rudimentary technology, the human spirit is capable of achieving the seemingly impossible. What do you think about the construction of the Great Pyramid? Which theory do you find most convincing? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more historical explorations, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.